Hi guys, this is Paige. Honestly, I just made this video. I was like at 15 minutes, and what happened was my phone literally just shut off and the video was gone. I couldn't believe it. That was the devil. God allowed it, so I'm going to make it again. This video is going to be about how if you're God's child, you literally are like a superhero. You have superhuman powers. Do you know those movies and they're about superheroes? And they're out fighting evil and they're decked in armor and they're really cool. Guess what? If you're God's child, you're like a superhero. A real one. With supernatural powers. You know how I said the Holy Spirit is the spirit of power and of love and of sound mind? If you're God's child, He has given you power. His power lives within you. The other day, I was in the room with my dad, and we were eating. And on television, there was this show on. It was like a baking show. And they were making cakes on the show. It was like a competition. And the theme for the cake was Wonder Woman. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, Wonder Woman. And you know what God was showing me? He's like, Paige, you're like Wonder Woman. And I kind of was like, oh. And I just didn't go look at anything of Wonder Woman. And he kept putting it into me. And a few days later, I looked at it. I never saw this movie, Wonder Woman. And I watched some scenes. Do you know when Wonder Woman's being trained? I'll put the scenes down there in the description. You know when she's being trained, the woman who's training her, you know what she says to her? She's like, you doubt too much. You doubt yourself too much. And then she says, there's great power within you that you could use. You doubt yourself too much. There's a part in the movie where she's talking to her love interest and he's like, we can't go to war. And she's like, we're going to war now. And she gets on the battlefield and she has these, they're like, on her forearm, there's like armor, and she uses her armor and like all of the bullets, like she blocks them, and she has a shield. Her shield that she uses against all the attacks. God's like, that's you. That's you on the battlefield when you're doing my will and honoring me. There's a part in the movie where she's literally, I haven't seen the whole movie, I just saw clips God led me to. There's a clip where she's literally fighting this guy and he has horns like the devil. You know what she says? She's like, this is about what I believe. It's a battle of faith we're in, right? She's like, this is about what I believe. And then she was like, and what's going to change the world is love. And I was like, God, you were speaking to me. God's love will change the world, right? God will speak this way. He speaks through these things. You have to be aware of it. That's what He's shown me. He's like, Paige, you're like Wonder Woman. Do you know God has made me into such a fierce warrior? And I don't say this with any pride whatsoever. It's that when you come to Jesus, He doesn't keep you where you are. He'll transform you into His image. in his image and who he is as a fierce warrior. And for years in my walk, do you know what I was? I was such a damsel in distress. And I'm not saying that's even a bad thing, that I was like that. That's just where I was in my refinement. I was still God's daughter. I was still a warrior. It's just I was such a damsel in distress. And that's okay. I wanted to just cower behind a man. I just wanted to be behind a man. But now I know I don't have to cower behind a man. Now, my husband, when I marry him, he is to protect me and stick up for me when people are like doing evil to me. That's part of his role. And I will be behind him because he's like my umbrella. But I'm saying my mindset is like on that battlefield, Jesus Christ is my leader. I'm behind him and I'm a fierce warrior. I don't need to cower behind a man. Because Jesus Christ is my husband and he's on my side. And he's my protector. And I can go on that battlefield and be like, this is me. And just destroy the enemy. It's taken me a long time to develop that in me. I was such a damsel in distress for years. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We have to understand everyone's at a different level of refinement in their walk. That's why we all have to have compassion on each other. I mean, when I was in my suffering, I was not being a fierce warrior. I was like scared out of my mind. And you know what Christians would do? Some Christians, they'd just accuse me of stuff. It's important to have compassion on our brethren. You don't know where they're at in their walk. They may be in the valley of the shadow of death. When someone's in the valley of the shadow of death, you don't just be like, okay, you just stand up and like, just leave me alone and stand up. No, you comfort them, you weep with them, you have compassion on them in that valley. You understand transformation and refinement, that it's not a process where you just get higher and higher and higher. There's also processes where you feel like you're lower because he's pruning you. You know what God showed me? Do you know that movie Mulan? I really liked that movie when I was younger, Mulan. I still think it's a good movie. It's the animated version. If you don't know what it's about this woman and she goes to war in place of her father because her father has to go to war, but he's old and he doesn't have any sons. He only has daughters. So she goes and she pretends to be a man. And she gets to the army where she's going to be trained. And the guy that's going to train her, he has this whole song and he's like, I'll make a man out of you. And in the beginning, she's so weak and tired and she's like, it's so hard for her. And then over time, he makes her strong. She becomes a fierce warrior. God's like, that's you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a woman. He's like, I'm making a man out of you. You know why he makes a man out of me? Because Jesus Christ is a man. This is Jesus Christ working through me. When he started working through me like this, I was like, oh, what is this? Why am I so strict? I was like, I better be gentle and stuff. I better not do that anymore. And God's like, Jesus is like, that's me, Paige. Do you understand that when this is not just about you working for God, this is about a team effort between you and him. It's not just about you doing it, it's about him helping you, working through you, leading you. That's why when he has me make videos and stuff, he puts it in me and I must yield to him and obey. If I don't obey, then it doesn't get done. It's a team effort. I must obey. And when I obey and when I do these things and the levels that I am seeking him and obeying him and fulfilling my calling, you know what he shows me? He shows me I'm honoring him and that he's proud of me. That's what he'll show me. It makes me want to cry. If you're God's child, he's already proud of you. If you live in repentance, he's proud of you. But you can make him even more proud of you. You can bring even more glory and honor to him. You know what it's like with a lot of Christians, and this has happened to me a lot in my walk. Christians are so bogged down by so many attacks of the enemy that they just want to go and they just want to go on YouTube and just zone out for hours and just watch, clean stuff, just to zone their mind out. Get their mind off things because they're so attacked by the devil. And I've done this a lot in my walk. There's grace for that. I probably still in the future will do that. I mean, there's parts after I make videos or after I seek him in the morning, and there's times in my day where I'm just like, I'm going to zone out now. I just go watch like a fun little vlog or things I like to watch about food or clean stuff or a movie. You can have downtime. And you can do that. You can go, there's grace for that, to zone out. God knows this isn't easy. I've done that a lot when I was younger in God. But you also have to understand why you're here. You're not here just to zone out all day. You're here to make a difference in the world. There was one of the videos I was making, God was leading me. He was showing me verses. I was looking up the verses. I was comparing verses. I was, getting ready to make a video. And you know what? Sometimes there's like ads that pop up on the side of my computer and that say certain things. There was an ad. And in the ad, it was selling something. And you know what was written on it? Women of God make a difference today, tomorrow, and forever. That's what it said, and had butterflies on it. I was like, that's God. He's like, Paige, you're making a difference. You're here to make a difference. You're not here to just zone out and then go to heaven. But don't get me wrong, there's going to be days where we want to just zone out. Because God knows this isn't easy. You were created for a purpose. If you can understand in your mind and truly get it, that you are made for His glory. And that's why you're made. And you truly understand that. And this is your job to glorify Him and honor Him. And you make that the goal of your whole life. Then you will make a difference. You will fulfill your calling in life. This is my calling in life. I'm not saved by this. I'm saved by grace through faith. But this is my calling. Should I not do my calling and my purpose in life? Bring honor to my Father in heaven. Glorify Him in heaven. Please Him. Destroy the devil's plans. Make a difference in the lives of my brothers and sisters and lost people. And I know not many people watch me. Even if one person watched me and it made a difference then I'm making a difference. Now, I'm not saying you got to go preach to make a difference. You could pray for others and make a difference. You could literally dance for God and make a difference because you're honoring him in front of the devil. You know what I'll do sometimes? It'll be like in the early morning, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I'll wake up. I don't do this all the time. And I'll just put on music and I'll dance for him. And I'll sing in my heart to him. And I'll be like, if no one else is doing this and no one else is glorifying you, I'm going to do it. Because this is why I'm made. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people glorify him and honor him. But within the world, the population of true born-again Christians is like, I don't know, 2%? I don't know. Very small percent of people are truly born again. If you are born again, use your power. Fulfill your missions. Because God has given you a great gift there. And I believe when we go to heaven, Jesus is going to be like, child, what did you do with the time I gave you? And that's not a condemnation thing. That's just he's going to look at what you did for him while you were here. He's like, okay, what did you do? Let's look at it. Let's review it. What you did for my kingdom. And then he'll give you out your rewards, which will last forever in your mansion. That's why it says, focus on the things above. Where your heart is, that's where your treasure is going to be. Jesus Christ is our treasure. He's in heaven. Well, he's everywhere, but you know what I'm saying. But your treasure, your rewards are in heaven. That's why I think it's so crazy. Some people think jewelry and all this is like sinful. Within my rewards in heaven, I'm pretty positive. Actually, I'm positive that it's like precious jewels, beautiful jewelry, beautiful dresses, beautiful shoes. Things I like, probably pets and beautiful things, the things that God wants to gift me with for honoring him. Some people think, oh no, the only reward in heaven is just going to heaven. No, Jesus said there's mansions in heaven. And there's verses about rewards, and every reward that's like based on Jesus Christ, you'll get a reward for every work that he has you do. That should motivate you. Not only am I making a difference, not only am I helping my brethren, not only am I possibly leading people to Christ and fulfilling my mission in life, I'm also being rewarded in heaven, where I will go one day and experience the beauty of all my rewards and the fruits of my labor. And here I experience the fruit of my labor too. So understand that. Understand why you're here. You're here to glorify him, not just to zone out. I know even men have jobs. If they have a job, it's harder because you just want to zone out. But I'm sure you also have some free time where you're not working and you can work for God's kingdom, when there's someone, they told me, they're like, you inspire me. When I hear that, it just makes me so happy. This is Jesus Christ in me. There's someone I talked to, I met them recently. They were like, Paige, because they see how I really am, my personality. They were like, Paige, if people really knew how you were, that's really not you on your videos. And I'm like, I know, it's not me. They're like, it's like you have a split personality. Because if you met me in person, I'm very cutesy and sweet and gentle. But even though I'm like that, I still have the heart of a warrior. That's what Jesus Christ has made me into. If you're God's daughter, do you know what you are? You're like a warrior princess. fierce warrior princess. Even if you're at level 1, and he'll refine you. Fierce warrior princess. You know what God showed me? I'm not only a princess now, I'm actually a queen. He promoted me to queen. Put me over some of his people. I have very young women watching me, and one part of my mission is to help them to become a great woman of God. He showed me that I'm like a queen. It's an honor for me to bring up young women in the Lord. I was not always like this. There was a time I was like, God, I wish I was always at this level. This is the level where blessings come in. This is the level where it's like awesome. And God's like, Paige, you can't be at this level right away. You can't just start off at level 10. You have to be at level 1. And then he'll refine you and purge you and make you into his image. It takes time. We got to understand, and everyone's at a different level in their walk. That's why we got to be compassionate and not accusing everyone. There's going to be times where I'm really weak and cry. There's going to be times where I'm like, I'm a fierce warrior. You know that song by Christina Aguilera? It's called Fighter. I talked about it in one of my, I didn't talk about the song, but in one of my videos, I was like, to my enemies, I was like, thank you for making me into a fighter. Because of all the torture they put upon me, and they're not even sorrowed. You know what I do? I sing that song in my heart, and I say that to the devil times. I'm like, thank you for making me into a warrior. Fighter. It puts him to shame. Jesus Christ spoke to the devil. I mean, we're not supposed to have conversations with the devil. But you can rebuke him. You can tell him off. You can tell him, shut your mouth. I rebuke you. Using your authority. I'm not saying talk to him like a friend. But I'll be like, thanks for making me into a fighter for using these people. I'm not happy with what they did, but look, God used it for good. Because I know now, no matter what happens and who turns against me, if it's in my ability and God has given me the ability to do it, I will continue on in my missions for him and be Wonder Woman for him. Not having to cower behind a man or anything, just fighting like a warrior on that battlefield and leading young women to be a fierce woman of God. That no matter what, whoever comes against me, whoever, tries to destroy me again, that's what I'll do. I'll just know, okay, I'm made for God's glory. This is my mission. This is my purpose. I will go on and I will continue in the work he has given me to do, and I will bring honor unto my Father. That's my goal. That's my mindset now. No one told me these things. No one showed this to me. This was God. God showed me these things. The things I teach in my videos, I have never heard from people ever, some of them. Because they come from him. He taught me. Now there was something, I'll put this in the description too. Paul Washer, he had a little sermon that God led me to about how we're to glorify God and our life is to bring glory to him. And I actually had listened to this video a long time ago, and I did not truly get it until later. Sometimes God will show you things you don't get until later. That's something God showed me. He'll show me some things through other people, teach me through them, but a lot of the stuff he has It's just from him, and I've never heard from anyone else about his discipline and stuff. I only thought God disciplined people when they sinned. I didn't know it was in general. I didn't know these things. He taught me. He will make you into a fierce warrior. So understand, you're here to make a difference. You're a superhero. Even if only one person watched me, and it made a difference in their life, then I guess I made a difference, didn't I? Even if it was just one. Even if it's not thousands. Because I know God knows what he's doing. And there's going to be times where we just want to zone out. I mean, it's under grace, but also understand there's a reason for your existence. You're made. This is why you're made. This is your function in life, to glorify him. You have powers. Your powers are prayer, they're praise, they're worship, they're authority over the devil that is under your foot. You have a sword. You know what God also showed me? That I have a bow and arrow. I know that's not biblical, but I guess that's within my armory. You have, your whole armor going on. Use your giftings. Use them for him. Because one day he's going to be like, what did you do for me? Let's look at it. And understand the process of refinement is, you may not be at that level right away. I mean, you're not going to be. It takes time. That's why if you don't look at other people and how they're refined they are and they're fierce warriors and you're not yet, you're at a different state in your walk. Get to know him. Read the New Testament. Learn him. That, even reading the Bible brings glory to God and makes a difference. It's for him. You're bringing Satan to shame. I have to fulfill my missions on earth. I never knew this stuff, man. Do you know, before I came to God, I was in rags. Do you know that movie Cinderella? Cinderella, it's like the live action one. God had me look at some scenes from there. There's a scene where the fairy godmother, there's like sunflowers behind her, which God speaks to me. God was like, that's me. And I know people will think it's kind of weird when I talk about this, but just continue to listen to what I'm saying, if you would like. He's like, that's me. And I was like Cinderella. And he transformed her from like a woman in like rags. Well, in the original one, she has rags on. In the movie, she has just like a dress that's like ripped. From rags into a beautiful princess. With like, and if you look at the scene, there's all these blue butterflies around her. Which God talks to me through. And I saw it and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And on her shoes, there's butterflies, which mean transformation. And God was like, that's like me, and I make you into a beautiful princess because I love you. Because the blue butterflies mean to have joy over my love for you. God is not a legalist. He's not a Pharisee. When I watch these movies that God lets me watch and leads me to them, you know what I think of? The magic in them? I think of them as God's power. Don't let Satan just take over everything, all the enjoyment in life. You know what magic is? Like the bad magic, sorcery, and all that stuff. It's simply a copy of God's power. Because God himself has power. He can create anything. He has authority. He created us. He could literally create a diamond at the drop of a hat. Or anything he wants. He has power. You don't think like he could be like the fairy godmother and like make her into a princess. That's why I just think of it as like God's power whenever I watched it, like Disney movies now. I don't think of it as satanic power. Do you know what movies are in general? They're stories. Humans like stories. We like them. Jesus Christ himself spoke in stories. It's not evil. I know it's not evil because he leads me to watch it. So I just think of it as God's power. I don't let the devil like try to be like, oh, it's my magic. And the devil has his own evil magic that we should not partake in, but these are just stories. And he would literally show me he was like the fairy godmother. He's not legalistic like that. I know people will think that's weird that I said that. God himself, do you know what he's shown me? He's shown me I'm like a fairy. And I would be like a fairy, but that's like magic. And we have to understand how he talks. Do you know when I was at work, we would talk about, it was kind of funny, like my boss would be like, well, I'm the queen here. And then another person would be a princess. And they were like, Paige, you're like a fairy. That's what you are. And God kept showing me fairies. And then like some sister said she had this candle she would use to pray for me or something. And there was like a fairy on it. Or it was like the brand of the candle was like fairy or something. And I was like, why do you keep telling me? You know why? Because fairies have supernatural powers. That's what he was trying to show me. You have powers. This is how he speaks. It's not like magic evil stuff. It's like think of it as his power. Because he has power that's even greater than that stuff. The magic is just like the devil copying God in like an evil way, in a demonic way. These stories are fine. Stories, we like stories. Jesus spoke in stories. So use your power. You're a superhero. Glorify God. Be a star. Find out your calling. If you don't feel like God's leading you, you need to seek him first in the morning. Bring glory to your Father. Honor him. Know you're here to make a difference. All right, I love you guys. Bye.